The teen squatters. You remember the people? Remember the people that killed the lady inside of her apartment, stuffed her in a duffel bag, and then put her in her own closet? But they was squatting in her apartment at the same time. That's how I know. Listen, I know y'all can get rich. I know y'all can get rich. If I can get rich and I'm on a spectrum, ain't no reason in the world. Listen, I was listening to God. We're going to get into this teen squatters real quick. I was listening to God talk to me, and he said, Anton, you know how easy it is to get rich? I said, yeah, God, look at this. I said, look, I walk around with $50,000 on my wrist for entertainment purposes. For entertainment purposes. I said, I'm on a spectrum, technically. You know what I'm saying? I said, God, I've always been a lifetime C student. Ain't no way in the world they should have let me get rich inside of the United States of America. Telling me all I had to do was work hard. He said, these people just lazy. They just lazy. You ain't got to be the smartest, the coolest, the most awesome, sharpest knife in the drawer. You ain't got to do none of that. It's always a way for you to legally get rich. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. All right, let's get into these squatters over here in New York. Oh, they really fit these are the pictures? Look at the girl. Look at the girl. I told y'all, what did I tell y'all Q was going to say? I don't live in Houston. I live outside of Houston. I live in Pearland. Pearland. I know Q like the back of my hand. I know her like the back of my hand. I don't live in Houston, y'all. Yeah, I live outside of Houston. Didn't I tell y'all she was going to say that? Hey, can I get a round of applause in the chat because I knew what Q was going to say? Yeah. Hey, shout out to these people that got on these padded vests, though. Let me play this for y'all, and we're going to get to it.
Two suspected squatters arrested for killing a woman in her New York City apartment, stuffing her body in a duffel bag and stealing her car. As squatting plagues the nation, there are numerous internet forums offering how-to guides to getting into a home and establishing a right to be there. So why has squatting become such a widespread problem, and what can people do to protect themselves? Here to discuss is Senior Attorney of Property Rights for Pacific Legal Foundation, Mark Miller. Mark, thanks for being with us this morning. You know, I remember in law school talking about adverse possession, and some of these things you're like, wait, why does this make sense? How do you have your own clear property rights, you know, subverted by somebody just comes in and says, hey, now it's mine? Explain to us really quickly the legal background of squatting.
Well, you know, that's exactly right. But this is nothing like adverse possession. We certainly did learn in first year of law school that, you know, if you were to move into someone else's property that was empty, it wasn't clear who owned it, and you were openly living there after a number of years, you know, 5 years in some states, 7 years in other states, longer in others, you could go to court and say, I have a right to be here. I've taken over it. That's not what squatting is. Squatting is nothing like adverse possession, and we need our state legislature.
I don't believe in adverse possession. Listen, squatting, adverse possession, it's the same thing to me. If you have gotten something illegally and it's not yours and you didn't take possession of it, that is illegal. I don't care how you want to frame it. That's adverse possession. No, it's not. It's called stealing, squatting. I heard that, lover's word. We're going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. It's called stealing. And you know what the worst part about it is? It then turns into other crimes because they don't just steal residency. You often are paying a property. When y'all go into an environment, right? Because renters and owners all have their place in the ecosystem of finance, and all of us helping each other to become greater because we all feed into, one way or another, the tax base that allows for us to have the infrastructure, and then that builds up everything else, right? Your taxes and them paying taxes is what then builds up the community. It provides you the schools, the water, the roads. That's why we are supposed to pay taxes. We're not supposed to pay taxes, and this is where the government is getting it all wrong, and we all start to change things because we've gotten too comfortable. Taxes are not supposed to be so everybody can get rich, becoming a government figure, or for us to have social services. That's not what taxes are for. Taxes are for us to be able to collectively put together monies so that we can then all benefit from it because we all would use the same service together. So we all would drive down a road, or we want the availability to be able to get to and from much quicker, so we pave the roads. We all want to be able to have an education system, and then we want to have teachers in there to teach our children. It's not there for us to have an indoctrination camp, right? It's there for us to provide ourselves what a way for us to be more successful, not continue to lean on it in order for us to justify our illegal spending. It's basic. It's not so people can do what they want to do. It's for judges to hand out the appropriate sentences based off of the sentiments of the people, because they're a reflection of the people that voted them in order to keep our community safe. It's so that we can have police officers keep you safe, and people you don't become a vigilante. That's why we have police officers. That's why we pay into a system. It's not supposed to be a business. This is why you need smaller government, because it becomes a bloated system that then provides a way for people to continue to take advantage of you socially. That's why they call it social services. It's not there for us to do what we want to do. It's not free money. It's not free money. And so these adverse, I'm going to come in and take over something. Man, you couldn't just walk into a community. That's what communities got too big. You couldn't just walk into a community and do what you wanted to do when you want to do it. You can't just take over a property. What kind of nonsense is this? That's why we need communities, neighbors, all of this stuff. We need to scale back what it is that we spending money on so we can have clean water, but you still got to pay for it. And so in order to release the burden from taxpayers, people pay for their water because we needed to purify the water. So we all supposed to feed into a system, but it's not supposed to be overburdening, killing us. I still don't know who FICA is. I still don't know who he is. Let me look up FICA. What the heck is FICA? Federal Insurance Contributions Act. Is that Social Security? FICA is supposed to be Social Security? So Social Security taxes. So we in a Ponzi scheme because we paying for people that came before us that didn't pay into the system. Somebody finessed us and said, yeah, man, we need retirement. Let's get the people that came before or the people that's coming after us to pay for us to be able to retire, even though we didn't contribute into the system. So now we running a Ponzi scheme, and it's in the form of FICA. Gotta be kidding me. So every single day, I pay into a system that I don't even have any equity into. That's crazy. Do you know that Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme ever? Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme in history. And the federal government literally, every single fiscal quarter push back the budget so that they can figure out whether or not they want to fund Social Security. What you mean? We pay into it every day. All right, I'm sorry. Squatters. I'm sorry. You know I get off on a tangent. Squatters. We focus on squatters right now.
Legislators to start changing the laws to make it clear that squatters do not have any rights to properties at all.
But give me the rationale. Why do squatters have rights, Mark?
Well, I think it's basically an oxymoron. It's a misunderstanding of the law. Too often, and particularly in our blue states, we treat squatters who have no right to be on your property as if they are tenants. We're seeing this in New York, Illinois, and other states. They just move in. You're not paying attention perhaps for a month in New York, even shorter in other states. And then they say, well, I have a right to be here. They wave around a piece of paper, say, I have a lease. And then law enforcement doesn't really know what to do. And it puts you in a position where you have to evict them.
Oh, so they wave around a fraudulent lease that they could draw up, and then a cop's not a judge. You can't sit there and litigate whether or not something is a legitimate contract or not. And now you've got this standoff. Here's some tips, by the way, for avoiding squatting. Lock doors and windows at all times. Routinely check the property for any signs of entry. Make friends with your neighbors and ask them to alert you if they see anyone on the property. Post no trespassing signs on the doors and yard gates.
What if what if I'm a snowbird? What if I'm a snowbird? What if I like to spend my winters in somewhere else? You telling me that if somebody is in my property with bad paperwork, and then I come home so that I could, enjoy my property that I pay taxes for, regardless of whether I'm there or not, then they have rights, and I got to find somewhere else to live until I can get them out in 2 years. Shit.
Mark, I know the situation you described for us could happen literally overnight, but do these types of situations that are occurring across the country, is it like somebody goes on vacation, they go away for a long weekend? Like, when does this squatting take place?
Well, that's exactly right. The squatters are looking for houses that are easy marks or for apartments. So you need to take measures, as you just said, get to know your neighbors. You want your neighbors to alert you. If they know you and they see something amiss, they're going to call you. I can remember my grandparents who were snowbirds. When they were down in Florida, if something was amiss.
Somebody said, Anastasio Rodriguez says, AD, what would you do if you had squatters? Kick in the door, wave in the 4-4. Or you heard his papa, don't hit me no more. Kick in the door. I'm looking at you as an intruder. Trespassing. I look at you as an intruder. Oh my God, my daughter. I'm strapped 100% of the time. 100% of the time, I'm strapped. All day, ever. All day, every day, I'm strapped 100% of the time.
Miss at their house, the neighbors would call them, or even the police would call them. So get to know your local officer.
And you lunged at me and you tried to kill me. You tried to hurt me coming into my own house. Intruder. We're not going to sit here and negotiate about it. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to negotiate. I seen you lunging at me in my crib, and you came at me. What is there for us to talk about? I don't know you, man, and I got my daughter behind me.
Signs up, make it clear. You want your house to look lived in. The squatter's just like a pickpocket in Times Square looking for an easy mark. So what you need to do is make it clear the squatters need to go bother somebody else, not you.
Okay, two questions just as a follow-up short on our way out. One, where is this happening across the country? Where is it more pronounced a problem than other places? And two, what's in it for the squatters? A couple of days, night, long-term stay? Why all the effort on behalf of the squatters?
Well, it's especially happening on that first question, especially happening on the coast because housing has gotten so expensive. We need our local and state governments and federal governments to make it easier to build housing and cheaper. If there's more housing, this is a law of supply and demand. We have a demand for housing.
Lies.
We need to make housing cheaper.
Lies. Let me tell you something. People that are looking to get stuff free, they're not doing it because stuff is too expensive. They doing it just because they criminals. People that are looking to get stuff free and looking to finesse, they ain't doing it because cost is high. Hey, guys, we will have less squatters if we made housing more affordable. Shut up. Stop it. Stop it. A finesser is going to finesse 10 times out of 10. Oh, no, we can afford that $1,500 a month in rent because they lowered the rent. So we're going to, no, they're going to finesse. As long as it's a way for them to continue to finesse the system, that's what they're going to do.
And the reason squatters are doing it is what free place to live. Who wouldn't want that? But we need to make it clear to them that they can't do it, that there will be consequences. We need to have laws that make it clear to squatters. If you move in, you're going to be removed very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Free place to live for a little while. We need to speed up what it means a little while, to your point. Mark Miller.
Let me tell you something. If you in the place for 2 years, and let's say that rent, let's just use a round number. Let's say $2,000. That's $48,000 that you saved. And they require you not to cut off the utilities and stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. Man, don't you know that people steal from CVS? People steal from CVS and Walgreens. They steal Band-Aids. You know how cheap Band-Aids are? Do you know how cheap Band-Aids are? They steal Band-Aids. Making stuff more affordable don't stop thieves. Thieves thieve. They steal. What do you think that's because somebody got a car that they're not going to steal yours and then be able to pay their car note as a result of it? Listen, I used to know guys back in the hood. I've seen guys back in the hood that would go and steal. They made a career off of stealing other people's stuff, and then their cars was very, very expensive. And so they would go out and steal everything off of everybody else's car. They ran chop shops, and then they would actually drive in a very, very expensive car. So it wasn't the fact that the car that they had was affordable. It was the fact that they liked stealing. They seen it because it was an easy opportunity for them to take advantage of the system that then was not protecting the people that was buying their stuff legally and taking care of business. What you think that just because it's affordable that they not going to steal? No, they going to steal. And then they went and financed a car that had a $1,500 a month car payment. I say, dang, dog, you riding clean. Stealing everything. Stealing everything. Never had a job, was always riding clean.